All right. Well, I think this is long overdue. Josh
I would
Jones
agree.
on the Knock On podcast. How you doing, man?
Fabulous this morning. Just glorious morning in Nashville. I never know what time zone I'm in or what time it is, but fortunately, alarms and alerts will adjust, so it helps.
Perfect. You got one little alfalfa on your hawk there. I
Oh,
c
do I have a bad one?
Yeah, just one up to the front.
I'm
I
better.
kind of want to start on the Mohawk subject, to be honest with you. How old are you?
I am 46.
All right. Okay. When was your first Mohawk?
My first Mohawk was probably around 40, actually. I started hunting with it, but not wearing it annually.
Because what's crazy is I haven't felt like I could do one once you like actually staked a full-time claim on that.
Wasn't really my intent, man.
No, I think once you did it, I was like, well, now if I do it, and am I just, you know, kind of copying Josh? But I used to sport the Mohawks a lot, quite a bit as a kid because I kind of grew up as a I mean, you think you were a punk, but were you really a punk compared to nowadays? Like looking
No,
back, looking
you're a
back.
pretty mild kid compared to now. There's a
Yeah.
different scale for sure.
Yeah. I always liked the Mohawk in the summertime. It was cool, and I would use it like whenever me and Sharon did Tough Mudders, they always did Mohawks at the end because they were sponsored by Bic. So I would let
Mm.
Harry shave me down, and then I would kind of sport them for the summertime. But I would usually wear my hats at events so people could kind of barely just see it in the back.
Yeah.
I stood it up when I skied, but I wouldn't Glenn Plake style, but I wouldn't just stand it up walking around all the time. It was kind of more like a Tony Hawk sling.
Sure. No, I get you there, man. Yeah, no, and I can't take credit for being the originator for sure because I had you actually showed me at a I think it was at Attack. It was like, hey, hang on, I got a picture of this, and you showed me a Mohawk yours, and it was way before I ever did it. So feel free to run it whenever you want. It's not
Okay.
my claim, and honestly, if I would say Spike would probably have the claim to it originally. Really, I mean, who's been rocking it longest, right? So it ain't really me, but it kind of stuck with my style, so it just stayed.
So how did you grow up? Where was your like early childhood?
Born and raised in Spokane, Washington. Yeah, I've actually spent my entire life there. I was born in Sacred Heart, which is downtown Spokane, and I live in my archery shop in Spokane's in the Valley area of Spokane. Originally, we had my dad and I had a general sporting goods store when I was growing up throughout high school in downtown Spokane that had an archery department in it, and I ran the archery department in that when I was in high school till we ended up closing that store and just opened Spokane Valley Archery, which is out in the valley, still there today on a shooting facility on the eastern side. We're only like 10 minutes from the state of Idaho, actually, really close to Idaho, but and been there for, oh, Jesus, 20 something years. I bought my dad out like 15 years ago, somewhere in that vicinity, and it's just kind of been me ever since. And only in the recent, like, last 4 or 5 years has it really expanded as much as it has till today. And I probably owe most of that credit to YouTube. Really, that's where the popularity of the brand and the company grew. And now we're in another building in Nashville, and we have a couple archery shops and a good online store.
Yeah, I mean that's going to be a mother for you to juggle. I've actually I've got one of my neighbors uh just bought this huge like painting business and
Mm,
floor coating business at 50, literally like worked for a big company for a long time and then kind of went out and partnered with a guy and then ended up buying a partner out. And then my other neighbor is like a lawyer and just bought like a whole new building and scaled and everything. But honestly, the three of us are all like approaching 50. And then we made the decision to kind of build I guess, a funner environment for our team. And then, I feel like I was a little bit due for a change of setting
mhm.
for our content. So we're building a new place too. But to tackle that at 50, I kind of feel like I would have rather been going the other direction, but you and I are both like tackling two different feats at an age where we're supposed to be throttling back a little bit. So we'll see how that works out.
Yeah, well, I wasn't nearly ambitious as you were in the younger years on the growth thing, so I'm a little behind the eight ball on the growth. I gotta gun it down now, and hopefully 5 years from now I can kind of taper back a little bit. But I went through a divorce like almost 4 years ago now, and both of my children are adults, so I don't have like the restraints to have to be at home so much. So it was kind of made sense to kind of go for it now,
Yeah.
with the growth patterns that I had. So
So I think I qualified for a world team in Spokane. Is that did they used to have world field
yeah,
trials there?
yeah, they did for a couple of years. I think Evergreen Archery put it on. They were at the west end of Spokane there,
How far was that from the shop?
probably 30 minutes.
Okay. I
Yeah.
remember having like some of the best sushi in a little bitty like I went downtown, we had a couple hour break, and then I remember walking around not really knowing, and there was like it almost looked like it was an old single door to like a club or something, but it was like a legit sushi bar where it was pretty
Hmm.
narrow.
Hmm.
They come and go all the time, but it was freaking good. I've thought about it several times, but
Nice.
haven't been back. So you grew up in honestly, that's just like such great technical terrain for
Yeah,
archery. I mean, if you can somewhat master archery in that type of environment, that would be my dream if I could like drive to my farm and it looked, you know, if
like
there
that.
was if there was just a if there was 100 acres of what we had there for those field trials, you could perfect your archery game. So is that what you grew up shooting on then?
Yeah, so if you look at basically the eastern Washington, North Idaho, western Montana space, that's basically very similar terrain everywhere. And that's what I've shot a bow and arrow in my whole life. I really didn't venture out of that area much until like the last 4 or 5 years, really. I hadn't traveled a lot or anything. Yeah, I'm just that's what I'm from and what I'm used to, and it's steep and it's angular, and you got to understand your cuts, and it's very challenging terrain, which is fortunate that we have it, but it also wouldn't be categorized as farmland by any means because it
Yeah.
doesn't hold the same stuff. But yeah, that's the whole environment. Like once you hit the Spokane area, if you keep going east, it just gets more jagged like that to where you've got all kinds of terrain and angles. And there's a lot of shoots out there that are on that sort of stuff, but
Yeah.
they
How
uniquely put that one together really well where you shot that to some real extreme stuff, which you can do, but it's not as common.
yeah. So did you grow up in like the competitive realm or in the hunting realm?
I grew up in the competitive realm on the indoor side of things. I was a workaholic. So when it hit summer, that was busy season for archery. So I couldn't go do a lot of the outdoor
Right.
tournament stuff. I did shoot indoors competitively in the state and through a couple of states in my late teens and early 20s, but never branched out because I could never leave. I was running an archery shop basically by myself at that point. My dad like was kind of the banker and decision maker for the most part, but once I was like 19, 20, it was pretty much just me. I couldn't leave. Like I couldn't take a day off. I couldn't be sick. Like I went to work sick several times because there was just nobody to cover for you. So I kind of sacrificed that and I never got past it once I got into 23. I got married and started having kids. And then as they grew up, they started participating in sports. So I didn't do it at that point. I still would branch out here and there and go to a shoot here or there, but I was never super competitive, to be honest. It was
It's
just
classic.
run an archery shop.
Yeah, classic. I love archery. I'm going to open a shop. And it's like, uh-oh.
Well, in
Now
all
you're
fairness,
no
I was
longer
born
going to get.
into it. Yeah. I don't even know what scouting is. I can't do that. I don't have time. I'm stuck.
Well, but if you grow up in that environment, you experience a very different, perspective to archery too. So one of the things that I'm actually looking forward to with your journey, um, because I've had a few conversations with some manufacturers that are kind of like opening their arms, more to what you're doing. And I know like you're kind of going a little bit behind the curtain next week at Hoyt too.
Yeah.
Um, which I think is good, really, really good. I feel like there's always kind of been somewhat of a separation between manufacturers and dealers, from a transparency point of view for like R&D and kind of the what's and whys at times, because a lot of products have to like mirror the verbiage of the marketing ploy to the dealers, because essentially they create a product, create a narrative, do your best to discuss that narrative to the dealer so that the dealer can then project it to the consumer. And I
Mhm.
think probably in your earlier in, I guess, your real estate from being in your shop, you were so used to people coming in and saying what's new, right? Because like you
Sure.
were the one where everyone had the catalog. If you wanted a
Hmm.
catalog, you had to go into a shop. It
Hmm.
wasn't, nowadays there's launches where the dealers may know something that's coming out, but not necessarily in the depth. They're kind of waiting for the launch too. So now consumers and dealers are kind of getting the same thing right out of the gate. But I'm kind of thankful that the dealer schools and some of the manufacturers opening up a little bit of the design and R&D transparency and the what's and whys to especially some of the dealers that are doing a very good job of educating that down the line again, because
Hmm.
I feel like the dealer has always been such a important lifeline to the message to the consumer, because sometimes even if the consumer does hear the message direct, how they interpret it may not be 100%. So I feel like you've been doing a pretty good job of trying to give some transparency to that. Have you always done that, like out of the shop?
Yeah, yeah, no, I've always, well, the testing and everything that I do on stuff and hold it against of what you'd originally hear. I've done that forever. I just didn't record it, and I didn't think it would reach beyond my area anyway. I didn't think that I'd have that kind of a expansion of views. So I just never bothered recording it. But it was always feedback that we were trying to give back to the customer, right? Because, and you know this just as well as anybody, the draw lengths would be off by a bit, your speeds would be off by a bit, physical weights, etc. Measurements wouldn't quite jive up, and I had to have that information to better fit someone into a product. Like, what's your draw length? Okay, you probably want to, in this particular brand, I'm a 29. It's like, well, you might want to try 28 and a half. It's probably going to fit a little better because we've measured them and they measure out a half inch or 5/8 long,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. So I always did that. I just didn't publish it or show it or
Yeah.
anything like that. And at the time when I started doing it, it seemed like the most manufacturers were at least 10 feet off on an actual setup. Now, I know there's ways to get around it and
Yeah.
force that bow to produce that speed, but it's not something the average guy would shoot it in. You know, you're
Yeah.
going to have a loop on your string. You probably ought to have a loop on your string when you test the speed, that kind of things.
Yeah.
And it was 10 to 30 feet off when I first started. And it's pretty rare to find somebody 10 feet off now. Like
Yeah.
they're keeping it a little more in check.
Yeah.
I wish they'd have some kind of a functioning protocol of what you had to have like on the string and what the arrow had to be set up right to test it. Like it's got to have fletchings on it.
Yeah.
It's got to have a loop on the string, those kind of things. So, because I mean, you're going to fire an arrow with fletchings on it. You're going to have a loop on your string at least.
Yeah.
And it'd be nice to see those things on a bow when they test them. So the numbers would get a little closer because that's a part of where that comes from.
Yeah, I remember like really just being in the middle of the speed game. Like I really appreciate the era that I was in, because single cams were very different. So there was definitely companies attacking kind of the single cam. Single cam was trying to prove a certain thing. Obviously, everybody was kind of fighting for speed. At that time, Kevin Struthers was notorious for just elevating speeds beyond belief, because we really, at that time, the standardized way of measuring speed was even worse than it is now. It's like some of the very first Botex like that we would get in, they'd be like an inch and a quarter long. And then there'd be arguments between companies of like, well, we measure draw length this way, we measure draw length that way. And all that was,
Yeah,
there's no universal string material, strand count, like,
sure.
you know, um, to actually know. So that whole speed game, like I remember being right in the middle of the speed game, like right after the PSEG forces came out,
Yeah.
and then like the Black Knight and then the Black Max and the velocities and afterburners and all
Oh
these
yeah.
speed things came
You,
out, and no one was ever comparing an apple to an apple, you
no,
know.
you're missing a big one though. Martin Fury.
Oh
Remember
yeah,
Martin Fury?
yeah,
I
yeah.
think that might have been before most of those. If I
Yeah.
remember right, Furies were like 94, 95. Those
Well,
things
even
were like
look at
an
a XI
inch and a half long.
velocity. You
Oh
look
yeah.
at
No,
the
no, I
the
remember that for sure.
velocities with what were their cams called? The velocities. And those were maybe some of the first like arced limbs, weren't they?
Yes, they
I
were arc
remember the
limbs.
XI velocities. I we sold
Oh yeah.
those in our shop too.
Hmm.
But yeah, all that stuff was just like it was almost like ammunition for dealers, and you were always dependent, like as a manufacturer, how the dealers set up the bows for the consumers to test them on the rack. And I think, and then at one point at Matthews, we're like, we need to just give test bows to dealers,
Yep.
which just can't remember the very first program where one showed up and we had to put on the limbs like demo, not for resale.
Hmm.
Just because we like, at that time maybe we had like 1,100 dealers. So I remember the team like building 1,100 bows that would like achieve the speeds and everything that we were advertising so that people could
Right.
actually demo what we were saying. But then you're at the mercy of what your competitors would advertise. Do you see that same thing happening arguably too much in other categories right now in the industry?
Being off by a lot, is that what you mean? Or
Well, just like not necessarily comparing apples to apples with
it
other
is
people.
it is so much better now than it was.
Yeah.
Every year I would add things into the testing that if I found something that seemed really off, but I wasn't testing it, the next year I'd test it. And I deal with manufacturers on the retail side, not so much the marketing side,
Right.
but I'd call them and say, hey, just so you know, next year I'm testing this.
Mm,
So like I contacted every brand last year and said, I'm measuring your draw length publicly in the videos, just so you know. So if it's
yeah.
way off, it's going to be published. So heads up, it's coming. And I don't see it anymore. Like I see rarely more than a 10-foot speed off of what it was.
Yeah.
I just don't see it at all. And I don't see physical weights being hardly off at all, and I don't see draw lengths being hardly off at all. Most of them are within a quarter, and I think that's reasonable to be within a
Yeah.
quarter, right? Your physical weight being within a tenth of a pound, that's pretty good. I remember they used to measure stuff without any dampeners or anything like that. Anything you could unbolt from the bow, you'd
Yeah.
weigh it without that stuff on there. Like,
Yeah.
hey, if your cable guard's not on your bow, you can't fire it. Like, you
Y-
probably at least weigh the cable guard,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's gotten so much better that you rarely find things that are way out of spec. This year is the tightest I've seen. Some fluctuate a little bit one way or another, but it's been really close.
Yeah, I
So I'm
think
happy to see it. So at least you're getting good information to the consumer from the published manufacturer, I think.
I think there's so many like there's a lot of good bow techs around the country. A lot of, I met several ones I hadn't met when I was at Lancaster a few weeks
Mm-hmm.
back. Several of those guys I kind of went in there and I'm like, man, if I have to work on something older, something outside of the brands that I typically deal with, like these guys are seeing these things every day, and it doesn't take you very long to be out of it to kind of have some of those gaps. When you're behind the counter, you really do experience everything that's coming, and then you also experience more of the old, like I had a question about an older model that I was working on for a friend, and they instantly were like, "Oh yeah, that cam was notorious, blah blah blah." And I was like, "Oh yeah." You just if you're behind the counter, you're in it and you're working with those evolutions and remembering the historical stuff too. But when you start kind of I guess I don't know how much you're still doing that, but I was going to say when you're doing what we're doing, which is so much time is consumed with the current, um, you kind of forget about some of those old things. It's like perishable knowledge, which I regret because some of that old stuff is so critical to understanding with the new stuff too, but it's like my bandwidth can only absorb so
Sure.
much right now.
Yeah, the last year and a half has definitely been a little bit perishable on the older stuff because I'm just not working on them like I used to. I mean, I'm always touching whatever's new and playing with whatever's new, but if you're not constantly grabbing a 15-year-old bow or 20-year-old bow and working on it, you can lose some of that for sure. And I'm sure it'll get worse as it goes on because it wasn't 2 years ago I was standing behind the counter still a lot.
Yeah,
And now I don't have the time with all the filming, all the travel and whatnot. I can't stand behind a counter.
you
It's tough.
burning out.
I miss it because I loved it. Like I
Yeah,
loved
yeah.
nothing more than getting one guy's bow just perfect, everything he needed, as dialed as it could be for that one guy. And you can't make a bigger impact if you're spending all your time doing that. It's tough. I miss it a lot though. I wish
Yeah.
I could find a balance and still do it.
Sometimes you got to just jump in there though, like
Mm.
in the I honestly kind of thinned things down a little bit for July because I knew I wanted to be a little bit more prepared for hunting season than I was last year. Last year, I feel like I pushed everything like right up to the season, and then I just had this small window of time to really prepare for hunting because, well, last summer I was shooting a bunch of bows during this time and
Hmm.
trying to narrow down what I was going to do. So, um, I
That had to
remember
be a
you
massive amount of consumption of time for you.
I
Like that'd
remember
be a
you
lot.
calling me. You were like, "Hey, do you want to do a podcast and talk about what's going on?" I'm like, "I can't. I gotta I gotta just go, man. I gotta just like worry about having good sight marks for opening day." But and honestly, like now that I'm here, I've been going in and kind of working with the team and just yesterday, I was like breaking apart a few things that we were having and like reassembling them, showing the guys some stuff. And I thought, like, I need to just allocate certain days where I kind of just get in the fray just so I don't
Hmm.
lose some of that. And I think if you're programmed like me, you do miss it. So I would recommend, like, now that your schedule's starting to get wild, you should at least schedule some of that time to get back in there because it'll kind of ground you and honestly you find peace in that. I still find a lot of peace in being able to like practice by myself or just kind of set up my own bow with no one around and not necessarily film it. I think for people that are doing it all the time for what we do it for, we need to still like go back to what we loved about it before any of this stuff was happening. You know what I mean?
Hmm. No, I agree. The last bow I built for myself, I didn't film it. I didn't record it. Nobody was around. It felt so good. It was like I just get to tinker with it and play with it and bolt it all together, and I don't have to worry about this shot or that shot or oh, did you get that tight enough or and discuss what I'm doing. It was just kind of nice to build a bow.
What one was it?
I built a Title 34 to play with, and it was just nice to just not have to do any of that.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
super enjoyable.
yeah. I agree. And it sometimes I don't know, sometimes I do a better job when I don't
Man,
have the
I agree,
distractions, you know.
100%, man. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah, I get that for sure.
I've had a few friends are like, "You gonna record making my bow?" I'm like, "I can, but to be honest with you, it's better when I'm just going because I can turn and burn so much faster."
Yeah.
What parts of the industry do you still have like a passion to dive deeper into?
Honestly, I love just about every part of it. I haven't hardly dabbled at all on video wise into the target side of things, and I'd really like to work my way that way a little bit more. And I'm adding, since I've never had a shop that was in a place where crossbow was a legal weapon, I'm going
Oh,
to start going through and reviewing a whole bunch of crossbows here pretty soon. I was actually messing with some tools yesterday to measure things, and I'm just waiting for a gauge to measure the pressure on the trigger so I can give some fair comparison things over there.
yeah.
And I'm not, it's not something I've been super excited about at all, but it's something I haven't ever done. So hopefully I can go into it with like an open mind and a clear perspective of what they are and not a bias at all. Cause I've literally never done anything with them.
Yeah. Sometimes that is a really good perspective when you go in and you're like, I'm a brand new consumer to this. And then yeah, kind of getting to do it. I honestly just don't totally get the crossbow thing. Like when I blew my shoulder out, there was like a
Mhm.
there was a small window where, I was a couple buddies like sent me one. They're like, I had this thing when I got hurt, and then I just ended up saying like, what the heck? Like this thing's so heavy to carry around. I get one shot. Like it's pretty like my natural instincts is a shot followed by going back to my quiver for like
Sure.
a rally, and to like have to miss the quiver and go in my pocket to get like an autococker out was just like, this is so dumb. But it's such a
Um,
huge market.
yeah,
Like,
it is.
honestly, I didn't realize how big it really was until, I started getting into some shops and seeing how many were on the walls. Because it's, I can't, shouldn't say I can't, but it's pretty rare that I just walk into shops and kind of look around and have time to experience what that retail space is for a consumer. But I was surprised at several big accounts that had a lot of crossbows. And then I've always asked kind of the same questions about, you know, what, how has this affected archery? And no one really likes what's happening. I mean, what's your opinion on it based on what you're experiencing there already?
Archery passionate people really don't like it at all. Like
Mm,
it's they raise their nose and they look down on it. And I get that because like we'll have to take Tennessee as an example. In the state of Tennessee, it's an archery weapon. It's not a separate season. There's not a different timeline. You can use either or in the same facet. And I don't know if I really agree with that because
yeah,
obviously a modern compound is going to take a little more work to be proficient with than a modern crossbow.
right.
Um, but I also try to look at it from the reality of, well, what if you're not really capable of shooting a compound bow? Then it makes sense. What if you're a small child that can't quite pull back enough weight to effectively hunt an animal? Some
Yeah.
of these things you can hand it to a 5-year-old kid and they can shoot it effectively,
And people
just
are.
like a gun. Yeah, they are. So I think there's a place for it. I do agree that I think there should be a separate time that it's allowed. And then
Yeah.
I don't think you'd have the same kind of response. But half of the archery equipment in this state is crossbow. Like that blew my mind. I was like, "Are you kidding?" They're like, "No,
Yeah,
it's like
that's
half
wild.
crossbow, half modern compound." But those people kind of come out of the woodwork right before season opens, and then they're around for 2 months, and then they go away. They're not avid, and I get that. But there's a large percentage of people that probably just want to go shoot 3 or 4 deer. Like in this state, for example, you can shoot 2 does a day for like 4 months. Like that's a lot of hunting. And if you're just trying to throw some meat in your freezer and you're not trying to be, an avid hardcore hunter,
Yeah.
it might make a little bit of sense. It's weird for me. Forever that was considered like a poacher's weapon. Like that's the only time a person had a crossbow from where
Yeah.
I was from because it wasn't a legal hunting weapon, right? So they had
Yeah.
one of those. That was the purpose. But I also try to look at it as maybe you're getting somebody who's into guns that's going this direction because it mimics and resembles what they're used to. And
Yeah.
then maybe that walks them into an archery shop that happens to sell those things. And he buys one, he plays with it, he likes it, and then he keeps coming back asking information. And maybe he ends up getting a bow at some point, and we fully convert him into archery, the passion that you and I have for everything. Like I really don't ever want to hunt with a crossbow or a gun. I'll do it if I'm out of options, and that's the season that's allowed to me. But if you're giving me archery or crossbow at the same time, I'm not picking up a crossbow, but I'm proficient and comfortable with shooting a bow and have been my whole life. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
I'll try to look at it from hopefully it's a gateway thing to get people into archery, not take people out of archery. And that's the
I think
worry. And
that's
I
what
get
we
the
keep
worry of
telling ourselves.
it. Well, and
But
it might be, and it might also be pulling people out of archery, which saddens me, but
yeah.
it's hard to know. And I think as you see this go on for a longer period of time, we'll have a better picture of it. But my hope is that after that's what starts to happen, that we start to shift seasons to still give a benefit to using a bow over a crossbow because it's harder. You should have a little bit more time or afford a little bit more of a thing. I mean, there's a 2-month archery season in this state before you can start using a gun.
Yeah.
and you can use a crossbow that whole time. Maybe the crossbow's in the second month, but the first month's archery only, and then they can both be used or something would be a nice little adjustment to it.
What's the trajectory difference on a crossbow? I guess I've never really done much for like ballistics on one of those things because I mean the
Um,
obviously the bolt's shorter and heavier. It's got a more of a power stroke, but what's the retention like? I mean, if someone
you,
fired a crossbow up in the air, you
how far
know,
is it going?
yeah, you
How
know
long
what I
is it up
mean?
for? I'm not sure to be honest. I can tell you the highest ones are up to 500 foot a second now, and they're
Yeah,
they're projecting a 400 grain bolt at 500 foot a second.
yeah,
So I've got a lab radar down here. I'm gonna start using that in it to see what the retention looks like in the drop and the speed loss
yeah,
to at least try to get some kind of an idea of how efficient is this compared to a bow.
yeah.
I imagine it's going to bleed a lot worse, but I don't know. I haven't tested it yet, but
I
I will be
haven't
soon.
really put it together, but yeah, because like, back when they did all the distance for archery, like all the flight, the flight
Hmm.
championships and stuff, those all those arrows were really short.
Yeah.
They were teeny little things with like razor blades on the back. But yeah, I was wondering if like maybe a purpose for those would be like a lot of these urban hunts where wildlife management is really needed, but obviously you can't bang a gun, and
Sure.
archery's kind of served a really good purpose there. But, for the person that I guess there might be a place for the person that's maybe not accurate with a bow and for, ethical reasons and lethality reasons, like the crossbow would
Hmm.
be a good option. But yeah, I don't it's for me, crossbow, like to think someone's going to have a gun, then go to a crossbow, then go to a bow is like the amount of people that are compound archers, but then just decide to turn into trad guys. Like I think that number is pretty small. People
I
do
don't know,
try
man. I
it.
converted a ton of gun hunters into archery when they either got discouraged by gun hunting being overwhelmed by people or
Yeah.
they wanted more of a challenge through my whole life. Like that's
Yeah.
been a common occurrence.
For
People
sure,
start with a
but now
rifle
you
and
have
end
a
up into bows.
but what I'm saying is with that middle ground, do you think that's like them leaning that way enough to where they would then stop, or do how many people are
Mm.
coming in and saying, "Oh yeah, man, I tried the crossbow. Now I like shooting broadheads, so I want to get a regular bow." Like, do you have that?
I haven't been here long enough to tell you that, man.
Okay,
We've
all
been
right,
I've been
fair.
open since January. We
All
haven't
right.
got through hunting season yet. I haven't hardly seen a crossbow guy yet.
Well, that's actually a good thing. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good thing. No,
Yeah.
so do you do trad archery very much?
I shot it. My dad was a traditional guy. Like he was really passionate about that.
Mm-hmm.
And from I think I was 14 to 17, all I shot was a traditional bow. I killed 8 big game animals with a traditional bow in my late teens. Hadn't shot my compound in several years. Got up one day, picked up my compound that I hadn't shot in several years, shot a 1/3 the size group that I could shoot with my traditional bow after not shot it for like 3 years. I'm like, this is stupid. Why aren't you're not giving me a better season?
Yeah.
Once again, the crossbow versus the compound thing. There's not a beneficial season for me to use a more difficult piece of equipment, so I'm not going to use it. And realizing that my customer base was 97% compound, 3% traditional, it's like, you're not going to listen to a traditional guy trying to talk to you about a compound for the most part. You're going to have a harder time fighting that battle. So I switched back and I never looked back. I still shoot a traditional bow here and again. And every once in a while, I'll pick one up and go hunting with it, but it's not nearly what it was.
What so when did you start when did your dad start hunting or using the archery? Was that from the grandfather?
Yeah, my grandfather lived in Olympia, which is on the west side.
Okay.
He actually started an archery club over there way back when. He used to drive. He was a cop for a while, and he drove for the governor, like he was his driver for a period of time. Ironically, I never really got to talk to him. He died when I was a half year old, so I didn't really ever get stories or anything out of him. But he started an archery club, was really into bows. My dad started shooting bows, I want to say, in his early teens, and got relatively serious into deer hunting into his 20s. And he was a pretty serious deer hunter for, oh, 35, 40 years. He died at 67, but the last like 10 years of his life, he really didn't hunt much. But he was really into whitetail hunting, and for Washington State, he killed 4 bucks over 160, and in Washington State, that's actually really good. Like
Yeah.
finding bucks over 160 is not common.
Yeah.
So he was
Not common a
relentless
lot of
about it.
places. I
Yeah.
mean, honestly.
Yeah. Well, I know there's this 200-inch buck thing running around out there. I'm like, how many places could you even really find a buck that big? But yeah, he was really into whitetail hunting, hunted almost all of his life. He had a quintuple bypass at like 57, 58 years old. And after that, he kind of just phased out of hunting and got more religious. I don't know if he thought the end was near and he probably ought to spend a little more time with God and a little less time hunting. But I've always felt more of a connection to a higher being in the woods to begin with. So
Yeah,
I
I do
would never want
too.
to get out of that.
That's a really good
So
point. Yeah, I actually feel the most connected and grounded. Like, well, a lot of people think I'm crazy during whitetail season because, I'm literally riding a tree bowl for 13 hours a day for a month or more on end. But I honestly just have the best, like, peace of mind and creativity during that time. I mean, there's certainly times where I'll start talking to myself and laughing to myself and, w seeing how far I can flick a little rolled up piece of Uncrustable and see if I can get it to land by a squirrel or something like that. But for the most part, I do a lot of my writing and my outlining and things like that when I have that sanctuary. So yeah, I'm surprised he went the other direction because you do feel
yeah.
a definite connection to just all living energy really when you're out hunting. It just seems like the quieter you can get it, the all of a sudden the louder it gets.
Mhm,
It's like it
for
has
sure.
to all get quiet first to where like you really silence, your thoughts and your mind and yourself, and then you start really hearing things that you didn't ever listen for before. That's what I love
Yeah.
about it.
I agree. There's this level of stuff that's below things, and you have to get to a point where everything's just gone before you really start to realize them. The hair on standing up on the back of your neck when a predator's standing behind you. You don't notice that stuff at a certain point, and then it gets down to a certain point, and all of a sudden it seems so keen. You get how animals are reacting to energies and things like that because they're just more cognizant of it, and you can notice it if you're paying attention. It's just you got to be quiet enough to pay attention.
I've felt like a bitch like 5 times this week. Honestly, I've had 5 times this week. I've been somewhere where like, and maybe it's just like the time of year, but where like a wasp has just came and like kind of like checked me out because I'm too close to a nest or something. And like that little feeling you get when you're like kind of scared of it. Like you sense that they're debating stinging you, and you get this little like feeling where you're just like, what a bitch. This is a bee, even if it bites you. Like it's not like I'm allergic to it, but I get that like feeling, and I know they sense it. Like, and that's usually like right after I get that's when they kind of fly off, like, yeah, this guy's a pussy. I'm not going to bite him. But do you know what I'm talking about?
Exactly, 100%. Yeah, there's like this level of consciousness that sinks in there, and they can, if you're in tune with nature, they can feel it. It's real. It's a
Yeah.
real reaction, but majority of people will never really get to appreciate it or understand it.
I hate that. That's like just such a transparent inner bitch move right there. Like
You're not wrong, but I mean it's a fight or flight, right? We all have it, and your
it is.
initial reaction is going to be, "Oh my God, do I run? Do I fight?" Right? And it's deeper in the subconscious than your thought, right? So I'm a bitch thing. This happens before the I'm the bitch thing gets in there. You can't avoid it. It's just going to be there.
Dude, this just brought back a memory to me. One of my funniest memories of Matt McPherson was totally unarchery related because I used to drive his truck and trailer for like his outreach when him and Sherry would sing, and then I babysat the kids. Or I would like drive his son with me to the next event or whatever. But we were staying somewhere, and I don't even remember where it was or what state we were in. But there was like there was this yellow jacket nest that like someone got stung. And so that night, me and Matt went to like get rid of these yellow jackets. And I remember us taking t-shirts off and then putting them over our head and like um tying pretty much having this here and then tying the
Hmm.
sleeves around our neck and then putting sunglasses on. And then we went out and bought like gasoline. We were like trying to like blow them out of this hole at night, but we were like with flashlights and we looked like both of us look like, have you seen Fun with Dick and Jane?
Oh, yeah, sure.
That's what we look
That's
like in
hilarious.
each other's headlamps, like trying to freaking like get rid of these bees that were causing turmoil to people at this church picnic or something. Oh, that was super funny. And I remember how like, you're kind of acting like a schoolgirl, how scared you are of these things, but in all fairness, it really wasn't that bad.
Right. Well, as long as you didn't get stung a ton, it wouldn't be that bad. But that's the fear. Is like, am I going to get stung 20 times, 30 times in this scenario?
How long have you had Podium Archer for your handle?
So I started making bowstrings like a long time ago, and that's when that first came up. Which I quit doing. I quit
That's
making strings
okay.
5 years ago or something like that. I didn't have the time anymore, but I carried on the name and any products that I had made. I was Podium Archer, and I owned the web domain, so I just kind of used it when the website
That's
went.
right. I was always like, so back when like Winner's Choice was still kind of on top, but then they sold the outdoor group, so they kind of went down, started going down the toilet, right?
Hmm.
Is that when, because there was a couple of you guys that started making some pretty good strings. Is that about
Hmm.
when that era happened?
Yeah, yeah, it was similar to that because Winter's Choice was close to me. Like they were in oh, I'm trying to remember the name of
John
the town
Day.
in Oregon. John Day, thank you. Yeah, which was only like a day between where I was and them. If they shipped something, I got it the next day.
Okay.
And when they moved it to the other side of the country, it was about the same time that I bought my dad out because my dad would never allow me to spend money on equipment to build strings. And rather than try to stock a whole bunch of product, they went, well, I can stock a whole bunch of material and I can make a string in a short enough period of time that I don't have to carry it. So when they
Hmm.
moved was when I started making strings because that was about
Oh,
the same time I bought my dad out and could say, well, I'm going to spend 3 grand or 5 grand on equipment.
are they in Nashville now? Where is Outdoor Group?
No, outdoor groups in New York now. They went to
Oh,
Georgia, I
that's
think,
right.
originally, and then they
No, I
moved up
thought they were in
to
Tennessee or something. Kentucky.
might have been no gas is in Kentucky.
Yeah, but Eric,
What
I think
Eric? Yeah,
Eric, when Eric left there, I'm pretty sure he kind of just stayed close. I guess
yeah,
that's
it could
a,
have been somewhere around there. I could have
yeah,
sworn it was Georgia, but Georgia's only you can be in Georgia in an hour from here, an hour and a
yeah,
half.
I can't
So
remember. But
all of it's
okay,
pretty
that
close.
that that makes sense because yeah, during that time I remember like there were some people doing some custom strings and stuff, and like America's Best had just kind of started, and
Hmm.
like on Archery Talk, Crackerized
Oh yeah, little
was ha
crackers.
I don't know. I remember
Yep.
someone signed me up for an Archery Talk account. And I think I was on, I don't know, but I think I might have gone on twice. I like went in there and I kind of like saw these good questions. So I was just my personality. I'm like, oh, I can just go in there and just like answer some questions and like speak the truth for some of this stuff. So I went in there and then just the trolls just pounced on
Yeah.
everything you said and they had no idea what you were even talking. And like,
Yeah.
I work where these things are being made. Like I've seen 300 generations of this before you've ever seen it. And they're like trying to tell me what's happened. And then I finally just realized like I'm spending more time arguing with the people that don't know than helping the guy that
Yeah.
does. So then that's when I just decided to start like if I see it, just privately DM someone and answer
Yep.
rather than post it in an Archery Talk thread. But yeah, I think I was on Archery Talk for like 2 days and then realized it just isn't a healthy environment for me.
No. No, well, it's not a healthy environment for hardly anybody. It's just you're aware of it,
Yeah,
fortunately. Yeah, I
yeah,
never did the archery talk thing. I just have bows periodically show up in my shop with a little sticker on that said like crackerized or whatever. And
yeah.
like, what the hell is this? And searched it back and went, oh, it's some dude on archery talk making strings. Oh, okay, cool.
Did it make you mad when you would see that? Like
Not really.
as a shop, when people would
Mm.
come in and essentially do what you're doing right now.
So originally, like I had some real reservation if we're talking about the transition from pro shops to online options, right?
Yeah.
I had some real reservations because the average pro shop, or at least what we did when my dad owned it, is you picked out the products that fit your model that you liked, and you didn't carry anything else, and just recommended those things and recommended against the other products for the most part because it was too costly to carry every rest made, every sight made, etc. You just
Hmm.
couldn't put the dollars into it. And I dealt with that for quite a long time with people coming in with their phone, asking me questions about a product, checking the product that you had, how much it was, and then leaving. Right. And it became very apparent to me when it became my decision making process. I had to figure out a way to be able to carry these products. So when they came in looking for it, I at least had it because I felt like if I didn't have it, I had no credibility to that
Yeah.
customer about what I was trying to tell them about the other product and why I would recommend that one over this one.
Yeah.
And the only option that I found, because I obviously you still got to turn inventory, right? You can't just
Yeah.
bring in 10 of this rest and have it sit there all year. That's bad.
Yeah.
So the only option became, can I sell these things online? And I started with like one SKU or two SKUs and eventually grew it to what it is today. And it was all on the intent of trying to be able to help the customer that was in the store get advice on the other product that I thought might be a better product for him, as long as I carried the product he was looking for.
Hmm.
But if he still wanted the product he was looking for, he could still buy it.
Yeah.
So that's literally how this whole thing started for me.
Yeah.
I couldn't not carry those products. I just didn't have an outlet for it, especially being in Spokane, Washington, where the whole state has 30,000 bow hunters. You're only going to
Yeah.
sell so many random SKUs, right?
Yeah.
So that's what it started from originally.
Yeah. It is hard because I'm that way too. People ask me about a lot of stuff and I kind of just tell them I don't see everything because I just really trust what has continually worked. And then I'm
Mm-hmm.
also all about, relationships. Um, and I feel like that's a very transparent, honest about me. You've been around
Yeah.
me probably more in the
Yeah.
last year than, probably I would say in the last 3 months, you've been around, I guess, my ecosystem more than in
Mm-hmm.
probably the last couple years. But do you feel like that's fair to say?
Oh, 100%.
I
I
hate
think you,
knowing, but
that's not true. I think you settle on, in general, you settle on things that you believe in and ride those relationships out as you typically should. I mean, there's instances or occurrences where you just get forced out of a situation or it just doesn't seem to work or your stars don't align anymore. But in general, I do feel that you've picked things that you believe in and you've supported those things. And in my world, what you're doing it the right way. If you're going to affiliate yourself specifically with a brand, or a particular type of arrow rest or sight or what have you, you believe in that and you keep going down that road. I think you've done a really good job of that. You've navigated this more than anybody, I think, and have had a trickier path to follow. There's been a couple of times which I've reached out to you for advice because I just like, how do you do this? Like, I don't even know what I'm doing, and how do you navigate these waters? Because it's just it can be such an overwhelming thing, and I think that gets overlooked a lot by the average person because they just don't see what goes into trying to make this whole world turn for you and have
yeah.
everything work correctly. But in general, I think you've done a really good job of that. I don't think you talk out of both sides of your mouth in anything. I think this is what I believe in and this is what I'm going to support. But that doesn't make it these other products not good or anything like that. It's just this is
Yeah.
what I think is the best thing, and I'm going to support that.
Yeah, I try to. It's like if I don't really have something good to say about it, as much as there's certainly times where I I kind of want to, um, I just I feel like I'd rather just talk about what's good on another option,
Hmm.
because companies make bad products at times.
Sure.
There's times when where the market rushes you to the market. I'll give you an example of that too. This is
Sure.
like totally off subject, but I don't even know what it was, but I would say 3 to 4 years prior to the Garmin site coming out,
Hmm.
I got hired by Burris to do some independent R&D. And so I kept sending back my evaluation of that particular product and just saying like the concept is amazing, the concept's cool, but there's gaps in it, and I started talking about like, how torque would change where the laser would hit, and next thing even on my elk target at 80 yards, apply 10% more torque and all of a sudden I'm not actually ranging the elk, or at certain distances because the LED dots are systematically in a line. There were times
Hmm.
where I'm like, 79 yards is not 79 yards. It's
Yeah,
82, it's 6 inches high because you're between dots. And at that distance, the tweeners matter,
that's a lot. Sure.
especially depending on like, the depth. It wasn't like it was an adjustable thing. So anyway, there was just like small things like that. And it was my understanding, I could have this wrong, but Burris had done, in my opinion, what Burris should have done, which was continue to have their product develop more to perfect that product. But then what happened, at least my understanding, is the person that actually sold that concept to Burris to begin with was not liking the delay in it coming out, and then
Hmm.
literally put the same tech offered the same technology to Garmin. So the same person who had the concept literally did what they weren't supposed to do and offered this same thing to two different people. So now Burris has years of development into a product, and Garmin rushes out to the market with what they feel like is a finished product ready to go. So then Burris has to bring it out to protect their IP on it, right? So,
Yeah.
like in that instance, the consumer just gets thrown in the middle of like two things that actually just weren't really done as well as what the concept would be. But then, it's not like I could come out and tell everybody that. So there was people with both of those products, which are very expensive, right?
Hmm.
That had issues at the beginning. And listen, there's just so many things like that. There's, bows where all of a sudden, well, a classic example, I'll go back in time, single cam bows chewing servings up, right? Like
Sure.
just not having life cycling in production long enough to realize, when someone's buying a brand new bow and their their cam is cutting a cable after 200 shots. You as a dealer, absolute nightmare, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like there's everybody makes a mistake on a product at some point. So, I think honestly, I think people like you and I that are a little bit kind of neutral parties now doing some testing, exposing that, I think it's putting some people in check to further their testing a little bit more. But I think as consumers, you just have to realize like even the best brands can have a dud, no pun intended,
Oh, for sure.
at some
For sure.
point. You know what I mean?
For sure. And I think like what you're referring to with the single cam thing, I think that's a great example of one product becoming popular and then every other brand, Tom, Dick, and Harry, trying to incorporate that technology into their product without testing it enough. And there were a crap ton of different bows when they started shifting over to single cam from the original dual cams that
Yeah.
had all kinds of serving problems, tuning problems, wear problems, etc. Because
Had
unfortunately,
no
it's not as
idea
simple
knock
as just throw
travel.
that wheel on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, just chuck that system looks like that on there, and we won't change anything else, and everything's going to be honky dory. And no, there's a lot of development that goes into that, and you see it a lot. I don't think you see it as badly now as you did 10 or 20 years ago. And obviously, computers and technology and development help that to kind of cut the curb of that a little bit. And they are aware in our ecosystems where it's too easy to communicate to the world. If you do something that's screwed up, they're going to know. Like if there was something wrong with a bow in 2005, it would take like almost a whole year for people to realize there was something really wrong with that bow
Yeah.
publicly. Right
Hmm.
now, if there's something really wrong with it, they're going to know in 2 weeks to a month.
Yeah,
Your
that's
sales are going to do this really fast. So you can't get
yeah.
away with it like you used to.
Yeah.
So I guess that's a one positive thing with the environment that we're in, that you get held accountable. So
It's
rushing
kind of
things to
funny
market doesn't
the
happen as much.
it's kind of funny the power of marketing though. I mean,
Sure.
I don't really want to say it, but I had someone sent me
Everyone wants you to say it, John. Just say it.
I don't know, maybe I'm using it wrong, but is that arrow locker thing, is that like just not up to the hype of what that thing? Someone sent me like something to build and they have six arrows in the little arrow locker thing and like
Oh,
there's just not enough space. It's like the veins are smashed together and all everything's like
yep. It
contorted and I
takes
was
a it takes a very specific alignment and orientation for it to work. And whatever you do, don't put a broadhead on it.
well, that's
On
what I
the other
mean.
end.
I was like,
Yeah.
wait a minute. This was something I was really like I was excited to
Hmm.
see. But,
Hmm.
that just goes to show you it's like even if the product might not be there, the marketing, there's still genius marketing behind things. Are
Oh, for
there
sure.
any
It's going to drive intense desire for a product, but if you start playing with it, like there's a couple of big oversights in that you just wouldn't know until you tried to do it. I'm like, so the idea of this, because I looked at that product a lot, was like, hey, this is for a high end guy because it's not cheap, and he's probably trying to save space when he's going hunting.
yeah.
And you and I both know you're probably going to put your broadheads on before you go hunting. Don't
Yeah.
want to take it with broadheads in it. Like, what do I do with this when I get it
y-
in here? You can't
y-
even get it all together.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just a little
Yeah.
oversight on that part.
I was surprised by it. It's like, man, there's so much stuff that's like well thought out, but then it's, at what point did someone like Joel Maxfield just say like, the heck, dude, just
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, um, well, so you've actually been to a few more tacks and I told you, I think it was in Texas. I was a little
Mhm.
bit swamped with, you know, ended up doing like three bow builds or something for, a family that was there and stuff. And you
Yeah.
jumped in and helped me. And I told you I really, really appreciated, you jumping in like that. But are there any like, even though this is a knock on podcast, do you have anything for me? I kind of, this is actually our getting to know each other outside of, I guess, I don't really know how to describe ourselves, but it's like we've only ever really met when we're there for the kind of the archery community. So it's
Hmm.
not like you and I have never actually just sat down and like had a drink or anything. I kind of told you, I'm like, dude, I want to
Yeah.
like let's at least sit down and talk or do something. But
For sure.
when there's two pinballs bouncing around,
It's a
it
challenge.
just doesn't happen. So yeah, do you have
Yeah.
anything for me?
Well, now you're the godfather of all this stuff. Like anybody doing what I'm doing is doing it because you started it. You really did. You gave the model for how this is supposed to look. and did it with class in general. And I appreciate what you did, and I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing without what you did. If you're looking for critique or something, I really don't got much for you, man.
I
I
just
think you
didn't
do
know
a
if you
great.
had
I think you.
questions. Like,
Oh, questions. I was like,
yeah,
I don't. You're doing great.
yeah. I get enough critique, I think, from
like, yeah.
from.
So I would say, what's your new facility that you're building? What's can you give us a little? I'd love to know information about it. Like, what do you do? I know you sold your place on was on the main street, right?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we started out with like a single building in our town square, and then we ended up like having three buildings. We ended up like connecting to, and then honestly, it just like guys would come out of one building and then have to walk over to another, and then it was just always like you're always like passing by. It was never really like a just wasn't like an environment where we were all in the same place. It's like, some guys would be in pre-assembly, like, doing packaging or something, or someone would be doing arrows. And then Sharon might be up in the front office and I might be, somewhere else doing this or whatever. And then there's shipping, the guys in shipping and customer service are in a different building. So it was just like too many partitions, and there just wasn't enough like unity. And Sharon always thought we just needed to be in one place.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also like all this stuff as it happens, like I've just never it hasn't really been about money to me. So I haven't like I haven't always just like ramped up or made moves or partnerships just purely based on the money. I've done it based on like what I'm passionate about at that time and passion projects that I've had. So actually our builder, and I say our builder because we've kind of lived in the same place since we've been here, but we've made upgrades to our house and had
Mm-hmm.
some walls knocked through and stuff like that. So our construction guy, shout out to New Era Homes, Cody. Um, he bought like a new development area that he was going to do, commercial development in. And it's in a really cool location because it's right on the main. There's two highways or county, state highways that go through our town of Indianola. One runs north south and one runs east west. And the east west one is only like 14 miles to Interstate 35. And Interstate 80 is only 15 miles north. So we're kind of in this pretty cool little spot. And the main highway 92, which this property's on, it's right between our high school and our softball fields. And then we have a national balloon field. Hot air balloons are big in Indianola. So we do like a big hot air balloon week. And that is actually kind of just kitty corner across from the park and, has space to park like 300 campers there. There's a
Mm-hmm.
pavilion there for a concert. So what I'm building, and we're not building outside of our means. I'm still like, I still don't want to feel obligated to make any decisions based on having to pay a bill.
Sure.
But anyway, we're building something. I think it's around 10,000 square feet I actually don't even know what it adds up to. But we're building something to where we can potentially have pop-up days or, I want to have experiences where, people can come in and I really want to have an awesome archery community experiences where there's just really no like I don't know, no initiative on the table other than having fun. So the way this will be built, and we've had a lot of people stop by town and people pop in there to try to see if I'm there. And it's just never been like a great experience for our community because it's like it's it's just been Lego blocks where
Right.
oh, this block is available. Let's get it and connect it to what we have. Whereas now it'll be like, you'll be able to walk in and see offices. Mine will be there and I'll never be there. Sharon's will be there and she's going to be there all the time because she runs everything. But the way we built it was, so there'll be like a square on the front. I'll do it this way. Should be a square on the front, and then
Mhm.
the back building will be rectangular, which is where the range will go. And in the big rectangular part, let's say it's a screen, a third of it will be ranges and archery, building equipment and presses and all that jazz. That'll be my new personal training area and content area. And then what we did was we made a corridor down the gut of it to then come into what would be the office, the cool office area that'd be up here. But that two-thirds part here is going to be shipping and fulfillment here and assembly and customization here. And they'll be like right in the middle of that narrow corridor that I told you about. There'll actually be double doors that'll open up to where on a daily basis, our team, we have what we call custom, and then we've always had, shipping customer service. Now they'll be able to just open their doors and function amongst each other. Or if we want to have like, a weekend where we do an open house, we can
Mhm.
close those doors. People can experience our offices. They can go through the corridor and then go out into our range. And then if you walk 200 yards from our new building, we have some really big frisbee golf tournaments at our park. So my vision is I'm actually going to see if the city will like close down our four main parks to have archery courses on each park and just
Sick.
have an event where it's like, hey, first come, first serve. Each park has a different type of course. Go shoot. We'll do, I'd love to have you guys there and, do some seminars or some fun stuff, at HQ. And then in the evenings, we could gravitate to the balloon field where I can have, some of our community do some concerts. We could do camping and some stuff like that. So, everything we're doing now is to try to provide a better just experience for our community. And I don't really feel like we're building it for us. Um, it's a little bit scary to do, but I also part of that too, there'll be an actual kitchen over here to where I can do,
Mhm.
and then outside the kitchen is actually like going to be a grill area so I can,
There you go.
just I kind of want to build a playhouse, I guess, and
Sounds like it.
I want the team to. I'm going to try to incorporate the team a little bit more because we have some great people that work for us, and honestly, that hold the fort down. Because I just don't want any responsibility of like that. Sharon is like, our IT expert, our HR accounts payable, accounts receivable. She, hiring, fire. Like I just pop in there when I have to,
Mhm.
because I'm just focused on doing, honestly, I think what people consume from us is seeing whatever I'm working on and whatever I'm shooting or trying to, just trying to address Q and A's to our people. So we're just trying to build a place where maybe we can have a few times where people can come and experience that. So it's the no
No, that sounds
plan
awesome,
plan.
man. Yeah, I think that's for not having a plan. That sounds like a pretty good plan. I think it'll do really well.
If nothing else, it'll look cool for me.
Nothing wrong with that, man. That's pretty sweet. I look forward to seeing it done. I'll come check it out when you get finished out.
Yeah, you'll be invited for sure. Like
Sweet.
we're talking about doing maybe a grand opening next summer. I want to talk with Sean and see if we can put this as like a place for him to do like kind of a half a halfway tack weekend
Half tech.
kind of in the
There you go.
community, you know what I mean? So yeah,
Sure.
um honestly, if we do it, anybody in the archery community, you're invited. Like whether or not I don't talk to like all, like you guys or Dan or, the bone collector. Like I just don't talk to hardly anybody. I'm just like so going. I don't know what anyone else is doing, so I'd hate for someone to say like, "Oh, well, Dud never invited me to that." Like I have no quarrels. As long as everybody's healthy, I'm really happy in the industry and just so thankful for our community that everybody's going to be invited when it happens. I'm just going to say it. If you've seen this post, you're invited. So I don't know if it'll get out of hand, but maybe, but maybe
It
no
very
one.
well
You might
could.
be the only one there. Like if
You
so,
never
we'll
know.
we'll have some leftovers to put in the freezer.
Yeah, heck yeah. Well, that's the thing that has kept me in this sport. When I was younger, I questioned going a different path or a different route because it's. I knew I wasn't going to be wealthy. Like I was talking to my employees this morning, and I was like, I had to learn how to work on my own house, do my own plumbing, do all my own stuff because I knew I was never going to be wealthy enough to pay somebody to do it. But what kept me in the sport is its community. It's
Yeah.
the best community of human beings I've ever found in anything I've ever participated in. And that's a rarity, I think, in the world today. And it's pretty incredible that we get to be part of that. And that's what I've really enjoyed more than anything of going to more tax and events and things like that, which is at us seeing each other a little more. Is being able to interact with those people and see how great they are. Like I don't think I've found a bad person for the most part. It's
Yeah.
it's pretty awesome. We're very fortunate that this is the people that we get to spend our time
There's um there's a few turds out there.
with.
But
Yeah.
sometimes I question, like I guess when I look back at myself, I remember, I did some stupid things when I was younger, 18 and calling dealers. I never had you. You probably had Larry, didn't you? Was Larry your rep?
Mm,
Larry
yeah.
Klink?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it was Larry. Yeah.
Yeah, that was Matt's best friend, by the way. Like
Oh yeah.
like best childhood friend. But yeah, there was just things that I don't just I think anybody does when you're a young kid. And so like I remember there's been a few times where I've talked to you or some of your friends and I've just said like, just be careful of the clickbait stuff. It's like
Yeah.
sometimes you're chasing impressions or views and honestly, the archery industry is pretty big. It's small, but it's big. There's
Mhm.
not enough like good influence. I don't know what to call us, but influencers or whatever.
I hate that term.
It's a weird term, right? But in
Yeah.
the end, there's like 3 million bow hunters out there. I mean, how many really good influencers are out there? Let's let's say 100, which I think would be huge, right?
Yeah. It's
If
probably
there's,
generous.
I mean, that would be very generous, but
Yeah.
even divide that up, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's like even a thousand dealers, I feel like we have a we have a small community, but we also have enough for everybody to experience it. And I don't know, there's just the only thing that gets me is like I've extended hands, I've extended plates of food, so to speak, to
Mhm.
different personalities. And, there's just a difference. Sometimes there's just a difference, I guess, in personalities or, I guess what to expect. And this year more than any, I've just told myself, I'm like, dude, you don't know how much longer you're going to do this. Like, get to know some of these other personalities, even though they're not necessarily, um, they don't necessarily might not jive with me on a day to day, but everybody needs, you look at like music. You wear a lot of the same t-shirts that I wear if I'm not like in my archery,
Mhm.
I don't look the same if I'm walking around town, which was a little bit weird, by the way, just to go off subject. When I announced that I was building the building,
Mhm.
I don't talk, we've never done an article about our business or anything in our local community. I don't tell anybody like what, well, we've had protest people thinking that we're a devil worshiper place. I actually we had to have a guy removed in a Ninja Turtle outfit from the building, just like walked in, sat down, just said he's there to do a peaceful like a lot of people think our logo is a dispensary location.
Oh, Jesus.
But when I announced that we were building, I remember that morning I actually ran into town and I was getting something for Sharon. I don't know what I was getting like they didn't have it at Hy-Vee, so I went to Walmart and six people were like, dude, I am so pumped to know to like see what you're building. And I was just like, thanks, man. I appreciate it. And then it was this weird thing of like, dude, you can't like see like these these mother uggers or whatever this slip. I wear these all the time. As soon as I find a
Hmm.
new pair, I buy these. I don't wear those on my normal archery day on the range, right? So it was a little
Right.
bit weird, like experiencing that attention locally. But I've just made it a point to try to get to know some of you guys on that level a little bit more because, it's like I said, with you wear a lot of band shirts that if I wasn't in my archery attire, I would have some of that stuff on. So I think there's a lot of your music choice would jive
Mhm.
with what I would be listening to if YouTube wouldn't shut it down, like if I was just doing a build, you know what I mean? So I'm
Yeah.
having fun getting to know some personalities and I really appreciated seeing you um where you didn't have the camera crew behind you, you know.
Yeah.
So
Well, I think at the end of the day, we're all, in general, most of us are just normal people that are doing this other thing, right? And
yeah.
I try to be myself as much as I can, camera or not. But I'm always helpful in general. Like, and when you were working on those bows, and I could tell you were getting behind, and you had people starting to show up for your event. I just started running and grabbing stuff because
Yeah.
I knew what you were going to need, but that's just my nature. Like, I try to be a helpful person. I didn't get into YouTube for any reason other than I wanted to help people.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get people better at archery and hopefully grow the sport. And it's just my nature. And there's a decent amount of people out there like that. But their personas might not show you that
Yeah.
out front. But there's also, yeah, I know there's some turds out there. There is. That's a good way to put it. And I've found a few, but in general, I think it's a really great community, and I'm happy to be a part of it.
Sometimes I don't know if you know, that's just like a protection barrier that gets put up because, I had a great podcast with Paige Pierce.
Hmm.
I had a good podcast with Jessica from MKC.
Yeah.
Awesome podcast. And we've both of them have been pretty close to like my working environment for a lot of my career, but we've never just like really found out how we both entered this thing and sometimes you enter into the community and you're kind of put into a certain set of personalities and then like because of that group people assume you're exactly the same and that's not always the case. There's some personalities I really wish I would have like maybe I knew more about or understood more, or maybe the wall wasn't up to where I felt like I was trying too hard to like let them lower down a guard so much, and maybe I've been that way
Hmm.
with people too. Um, but I'm
Well, it's
making
tricky. It's tricky because there's a level of trust that you're giving a person. Like when you're doing these things, right? You're just
yeah,
like, I'm going to trust you to not make me look like a jackass if I can avoid it, kind of thing. And that's a scary thing for some people. So the guards get up. And I accepted a long time ago that I was going to be who I was no matter what. And if people didn't like me, they didn't like me. And if we're all human, we all make mistakes and we all do dumb stuff. And if people can't get past that, they can't get past that. So
I feel like
it's
you could do a really good Judas Priest cover band.
yeah, maybe
Have you ever thought of
could
that?
get in there. I never thought of it, but yeah,
I
it could
feel
that
like
could be
you
a
have
thing.
like a great like you got like the perfect head shape and everything. If you could just like rock that. What would be mine? Like I don't feel like I'd resemble anyone cool.
God, I don't know. I
Do I
never
have
thought
a
of it. You've
doppelganger
always just
that's like
resembled John Dudley to me.
I know. Yeah, I don't have any kind of a doppelganger that's remotely cool. So I'm screwed. Once these
Well, maybe you are just the cool, and somebody else looks like you. Did that occur
no,
to you?
I don't agree with that. I've morphed. Some people think I'm gaunt now, but I honestly just I feel so good now and so much of my lifestyle is like pivots around what I need to do, I guess as an athlete. I still refer to myself as an athlete, but right now I do feel really good, even though some people think I'm maybe too skinny, but I actually feel like I'm more like what I was in high school, and I always liked who I was then. I think I ended up bulking up a little bit too much.
Well, it's what it.
Someone told me one
However you
time
feel best, man.
someone told me one time I was trying to get from point A to point B, and I was at an archery thing, and so that can be hard sometimes. Um, and I was just getting stopped and stopped, and the person that was with me was like trying to get me into an event, and I remember them saying it was a gal, and I don't remember who it was, but she goes, you know, if you didn't smile at everyone, they wouldn't know it's you. And I go, what do you mean? And she said, your smile and your teeth are like very distinguishable to who you are if you're not speaking. That's like your tell because most people don't know how tall I am, you know, in person if they haven't seen me before. If you've seen me before, then that's the tell. So I
Sure.
just literally like covered my mouth and didn't smile like because I still smile at I still like am smiling at people. So I
Yeah.
did this and dude, it totally worked. Like no one people kind of gave me the whole like that thing, but
Yeah.
it wasn't
Yeah.
like people weren't going like Dudley.
Yeah.
So yeah, for you, I think you could probably do the same if
I
you
could probably
got,
just do this. Yeah. Just go right through.
that's what I mean. Just get you like a
Yeah.
leather biker hat and put that thing on. You could just be
Just
rolling.
off you go.
Now that you're making signs though, you're kind of stuck. You've kind of cornered
I am.
yourself.
Pray to God I don't lose my hair.
I mean, you could tape it off, I guess, if you could tape off the
Yeah.
mohawk.
Yeah, you could. Came down to it.
What do you put in yours? What's your go-to?
It's a pomade. I'm trying to remember what it's called. It begins with an S. It doesn't take that much actually, shockingly. But I usually don't let it get any taller than this. You get taller than that, you got to put a whole bunch of junk in it to keep it up.
Yeah,
This doesn't take much.
I think I had to do like egg whites and jello or something like that back when I had my big
Haven't
one.
gotten that creative.
Huh?
I
Yeah, you
haven't
could
gotten that creative yet.
yeah, with the jello you could get different colors like in for that
Ugh.
time. But yeah,
Oh
that
boy.
was I remember when Glenn Plake was he did this it was called like the Down Home Tour and he traveled to like all kinds of small ski hills and kind
Mm.
of and I loved Glenn Plake from all the Warren Miller ski films and I remember like waiting in this long line and he's just like you know he apologized about how long I waited and everything and he's like do you what do you want to ask me, you know, you waited all this time and I'm like how do you keep your mohawk up. And he's the one that told me, he goes, egg whites and jello. He goes, that's what I mix. And he said he just like lays them down there and lets it get hard and then stands it up. So that's what I went with for a while.
Nice. I'll have to keep that in my back pocket.
What's next for Josh? Other than next
Honestly,
week,
just
you're going to
continue.
be in Hoyt.
Let's see. I leave Monday morning early. Uh, Fly into Utah, and then I'm gonna go see Evan at Black Rifle Monday afternoon. Be at Hoyt on Tuesday, Easton on Wednesday. Stop by Grim Reaper Thursday morning, and then head up to the mountain for Utah Tech.
Very cool. I won't be
Yeah.
there. I won't be there. Sharon's got, I was going to come out and shoot for fun.
Mhm.
But Sharon has family, some family stuff. She lost her aunt, and then she's got some
Oh,
other family and some medical stuff. So she's actually got to fly to the UK. So I'm going to be holding down the fort, which means nothing's going to be getting done at Knock on HQ. Just a bunch of screwing off,
oh,
which could be fun or could be a disaster. We're renting
yeah.
our building now. We've actually crammed into one building. And when you asked
Mm.
about coming, that was one of the things I was thinking about is I'm like, man, this is going to be embarrassing because two offices are all what what you've seen as like where I've always shot in my range, my personal range. My personal range is now a storage facility, and then everybody's crammed into one building right now.
Mm.
So it's a little bit of a freaking garage sale. Looks like a Goodwill store in like every building I have, which is driving me nuts. So yeah,
Sure.
very big difference.
Well,
Hopefully
we'll
you
do
have
it
fun
again
out
when you're
there.
set up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to come to Nashville actually. I don't
Love
know
to have you.
why, but Nashville's been calling me. I want to come down there and kind of go out to a few of the I love live music. I love music.
Mhm.
So, I really want to come out there and kind of experience a little bit of that and then maybe come see you. So next time I'll do your podcast.
That'd be fantastic. I'd love to have you.
Not to, I
Open
mean, I
invite
invited
whenever you want.
myself. I'm sorry.
Oh, dude. No, I'm going to tell you if you're ever down this way, please come in. Let me know when you're coming, and I'll plan around it, and we'll have you on. You can check out the shop, and hopefully by that time you'll see some of your products on our wall.
Yeah, yeah. So, spoiler alert. Sh spoiler alert. Yeah, you're gonna be one of the few dealers that sell knock-on stuff. So we're working towards making that happen. And it's just inventory is the problem, man.
You don't need to tell me, dude. I know.
It's not that I don't want to deal with dealers. It's just, it's like we just OEM so much stuff with partners that we like and we're at the mercy of their bandwidth, which is a good and bad problem. But yeah, I'm definitely picking, some good people that understand our product and, like a silverback, there's not a lot of shops that would know how to like teach someone to shoot one, but 10 minutes can like completely change the experience with products like that, So you kind of need
Absolutely.
people that have some of that background or have at least been trained by someone like yourself that understand that background too. So,
Sure.
and the T2 crossbow one came out too, by the way, now that you're selling crossbows, that thing's
I think we
worse.
have some. I have to check on my wall. I got a whole bunch of T2s, like right on the other side of where I'm sitting is the broadhead wall.
Oh,
And
okay.
I got a ton of T2s in there. I'm pretty sure we got crossbow ones too.
Yeah, 500 feet
Sure.
per second that thing was shooting, which is pretty crazy. Did you see the BMPs for the T2s?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, they just got finished. Oh yeah, they are. Yeah. So that's
Oh,
the T2 BMP,
oh, gotcha.
um, which is pretty nice. But yeah, they did a lot of shooting machine testing for them. So I think
Oh,
I
sick.
seen a thing just yesterday about them. But yeah.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah, I'll
so
get some of those in here pronto.
yeah. What is there any other thing you're excited about that I might not know about? Or like
Let me think. Yeah,
what w-
there is a new broadhead coming out in like a week or two. That's
does
interesting.
this start with an S?
It does.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I just got some of them 2 days ago.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I haven't been able to shoot one or play with one yet.
Yeah.
Interesting concept if it works. Outside of that, nothing super new. That a lot of that doesn't come out for a little while. So, but you probably know a little more than me and a good portion of that.
Yeah. Yeah. That one's been on the way for a while, so it's tricky to navigate. I don't know, like part of me wants to not necessarily like dig my feet in with certain products. I've always, and honestly, even this last bow contract, I was dangerously close to just being a neutral party, but I just feel so at home with Hoyt. I didn't feel like it would necessarily be fair to those guys. They were such an awesome team. You got to spend a lot of time with Tom, I
Yeah,
know.
Tom's a good dude.
Which, you know, he's your rep technically, so I mean it's pretty normal, but I think you probably heard some stories. From what I heard, you guys had a little bit too much time in the hot tub, just like like talking about things non-archery stuff. But yeah,
Yeah.
just those guys were always friends, and it just went back so far that they're just family to me. But I was really close to like just deciding to not corner myself with certain products or brands necessarily to try to be more, I don't know, more neutral with a lot of these things like that broadhead
Mhm.
that'll be coming out soon. But I don't know. I feel like there's certain relationships and trust that I've had with people for so long that it wouldn't be fair to them if I was 100% neutral. And you also like it gets to the point where there's just like the boundary of their trust wall. It it definitely gets pushed out a little bit when you're totally neutral. You
Oh, I'm aware.
Yeah, yeah. But like I
Yeah.
said at the beginning of the podcast, I was happy to hear that you're gonna get to you're gonna get to see some new stuff at Hoyt that maybe you've had some of those discussions elsewhere, but you haven't had them with them.
Yeah.
And and I know there's things that you've said that you wished Hoyt would do.
Hmm.
But the one thing I'll tell you is, which I think is a is a good thing for Hoyt people, and it's probably why Hoyt has a very like loyal, trusting following too, is like Hoyt's initiative has never really been to be like to have to be the first out with something, like especially when people have good ideas, but they definitely thrive to find a better way of doing something with a technology that like is accepted and needed. And
Hmm.
Hoyt has their own timeline of when they feel like they've perfected that innovation for the best purpose of their product, and they don't rush out there, kind of like what we talked about with that site. So
Hmm.
yeah, you're probably going to ask them some questions that you're going to realize they're fully aware of, and there's a reason why that they're not always just instantly reactive to the market, because what they want to do is they want to be proactive at refining um that technology to be perfect on their platform. So it's
Well,
gonna
I can attest to that over the years. I've watched the market for 30 years, right?
Yeah,
And they
yeah.
weren't always the first to release something, but when they released it, they believed it was the best version of that it could be.
Yep.
So I didn't the things that I complain about, I am cognizant and aware why they haven't happened yet. I'm pretty sure. And it's
Yeah.
not a conversation I've had. I know the company. I
Yeah.
know what they do and I didn't expect it. Figure I complain about it enough, maybe it work on it a little more kind of thing,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I'm anxious to see what I get to see here next week and see what they've been working on. But I do know that when things get addressed there, there's been an immense amount of thought, time, energy, effort, and testing behind it before it ever would see the light of day.
What bow are you going to shoot in Utah?
I'll probably still shoot that title because I haven't had any time to work on something else. But it's sitting right there and it's still pretty dialed. So that's probably what I'm going to run with just because I don't have enough time to make something else.
Yeah. I dude, the last time I think it's the last time we shot it was or I shot with you was actually at it was in Utah and I'll have to
Mm-hmm.
I have to give you a little bit of backstory about that.
Okay.
Um so that season I think I had done like 43 or so days like at the tack and they're pretty taxing, which you understand. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but like the stress for me to stand on a target and shoot with that many people, and especially it's not like I pick a chipper shot to like stand on a target with people to shoot. So
Sure.
like I probably misset my sight in my backyard like twice a week. Like that tr poor tree behind my elk target because I normally like I'll shoot at 100 and then I'll like come over to 80 and like
Mm-hmm.
so there's just sap holes like like above the elk at this distance and then
Mm-hmm.
my other target that I'm shooting is 60 and then if I swing over so there's this huge group in this tree that's like broke off flush beneath it and then another one above it. So the fact that like I haven't misfired a release, forgot to put my arrow in the on the string, or
Sure.
misset my sight, it like these are things that I like lose sleep during non-tax season. I even think about like, being the
Mm-hmm.
next meme, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just easy to think. So on Sunday at Utah, whatever it was a year or two ago, dude, when I'm like, what was your shooting time? They're like, oh, we were the last 230 group. And I was like, all right, see you guys. And like, as soon as they went over the hill, dude, I just turned to my camera guy and just like high fived him and gave him a hug. And I'm like, dude, we freaking made it. Like, let's get the heck out of here. Like, thank God I haven't done anything stupid. And
Right.
like, I felt this whole like, kind of like you just shot a big buck or something, like my whole adrenaline just dumped. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm going to the village and next up is hunting season. I just had that. And then I'm like walking down the path to go to my truck and I hear you and Dan like, Dudley, like, do you remember that? You guys were
Yeah.
above that big rock
Yeah.
slide where that turkey was, and
Yeah.
I was at
Oh
Bigfoot.
yeah.
And you're just like, and like I saw the cameras and I'm just like, oh no, because I had like just powered off and like
Yeah.
when I tried to flip the switch back on, like it was just like buffering. And so all I could think of is like, you gotta be you. So I like that's when I think we all shot Bigfoot at some stupid distance and then I put Dan on my shoulders.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I wasn't totally on my game there, but it like I just deflated all the air out of the raft and then you guys came up and I'm like
You were you were so happy to be done. Then you're like, God damn it, these guys.
I was I was just like, dude, I wanted like a hot dog and a hot bath so bad. I was just like, this is gonna be awesome. Not to mention the mosquitoes in that little
Oh
those
yeah.
all those little swamp, whatever those like little like moose cabbages that were in that floating
Yep.
water was horrible. But
Not an ideal place to hang out.
yeah, I picked a horrible no tree where like where the steak was too. I was just getting
Right.
microwaved for three
Yep.
days
Yep.
and getting bit by mosquitoes. Like as soon as the inversion would happen and it'd warm up, all the mosquitoes
Mhm.
would just raise out of that skunk cabbage or whatever it was. So one of these days I'll be back on my pace. Oh, I meant to ask you this. Um, how do you feel like your archery is in regards to like the level that you're shooting right now?
I'd say I'm probably shooting about the worst I've shot in a couple of years. Just being honest. It's hard to dedicate the time, and I've struggled with it mentally a little bit because I know what my ability is, and to not be able to put it forth, especially when you're in the public, is
Yeah.
it's hard. But you can't grab a new bow every week and go show up at something and expect to do well with it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And trying to find a balance, which I am self-proclaimed not good at having a healthy balance of anything. I tend to go a little too far. Um, so yeah, my vision is starting to get really bad. I was shooting with Dan and Bodie in Montana, which we filmed, and I swore to God, I rolled my sight to 80. Best shot I broke that day, and I set it at 90, and it looked like 80 through my because
Yeah.
everything's getting really fuzzy right about here. I'm like, God damn it. What'd
I,
you do? You're turning into an old man. It's
I
just
know. I know.
it's
I feel
wild,
the
man.
same way, but so yesterday, maybe this will help you mentally too. Yesterday, I was thinking about this and I was like, mainly because of my conversation with Paige, she was asking me like, why do you shoot the numbers that you're shooting? Which, to be honest with you, I'm like right now, what day is it? It's like the 11th. Um, I'm 11 days without practice right now,
Ooh.
without real practice because I pulled something in my neck, like in my neck, and like I've got like a trapped nerve under my scapula. So
Mm-hmm.
it's given me these like these stunning jolts at times. But anyway, I started thinking about it and I thought, the truth of it is it's probably better for the people that consume our content. Like, I honestly feel like I'm in a better place now when I'm not shooting at the level that I know that I have because I feel like how I'm shooting right now, every archer out there can attain the level that I'm shooting right now. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I have to practice to get to it. And if I take time off, then it takes me time to get back to where I left
Yeah.
off. So I'm not, there's no pause button in my ability right now, which for sure my late teens, 20s and early 30s, it was just a pause button. Oh, you're, shooting this kind of indoor round and I'm going to go to hunting season, pause. I'd literally pick it back up in, the end of November, hit play, and it's just like, oh, okay, another 27:30. That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now it'd be like, okay, that was a sweet 15,295. You know what I
Well,
mean? So
that's reassuring.
yeah, I mean, I honestly don't know if it's that bad, but um, I just feel like right now I can honestly tell people they have the ability to shoot is like I know by next month I'll be shooting with what I'm happy with as a hunter. People can achieve that because I'm at the ability now where my vision is definitely naturally regressing, like you said. And just clarity on target is a thing. So, I feel like just lack of practice, distraction in life, constantly changing gear. Like sometimes when I make those things, like you people need to just shoot.
Mhm.
When I'm changing all the time, I'm not at my best. It's like people think that they always need to, go to Josh's shop and buy whatever's new. Certainly helps, but you know, reps behind something consistently is like the most trustworthy recipe, man.
For sure. For sure. And normally I hit about July 15th and I pick up the bow I'm going to hunt with and I shoot it every day and I shoot it religiously. So by mid-August, I'm like, all right, I got a lot of reps in this bow. I feel really good with it. And I don't spend that kind of time with anything throughout the year. I care about hunting. I really do. Like
Yeah.
that's where I'm at in my life. I could care less about shooting target. I
Yeah.
do that to interact with people. I want to get my hunting bow dialed, feel really good with it, and head into August 15th or so, just ready to kill stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's me. August 15th. I just picked up a leftover tag, baby. So
Oh yeah, we're at
Utah. Yeah.
a boy.
Utah. So
Nice.
I'm gonna get out there and actually I'm gonna be doing a podcast next week, everybody, with Daniel, who is an amazing engineer. You know Daniel, Josh, and then you will meet him next. I know you're gonna be in there talking to him some next week too.
Sweet.
But I'm gonna do a podcast with Daniel, who is got some of the most ridiculous early season bucks and late season bucks. And so we're going to be talking converting over our target gear to hunting gear and also some early season Western hunting tactics. So that's what'll
Awesome.
happen next week, just in case you're
Oh,
bored.
I'll be waiting to
Not,
hear
yeah, not
it.
gonna happen. Thanks so much for coming on, dude. I really appreciate it. And
I appreciate you having me, and I look forward to having you over here when you're available.
I know I'm gonna come. I'm gonna come to Nashville, guaranteed. Knock
Awesome.
on, everybody. Be sure to check out knockonarchery.com for our full line of custom designed products, as well as free in-depth education and bow hunting entertainment to help you shoot at your best.